Well, this is the first episode I will be doing in regards to NFL redrafts. This is going to go back from 1999, and I'm probably going to go all the way to 2018. I feel like 2019 still is going to be a little bit too premature to accurately judge talent. A lot can change. Obviously, Davante Adams was drafted in 2014 and wasn't an elite star till probably 2017, 2018. So a lot changes in those first 3-4 years. Cooper Kupp also took a little while to develop. But this is definitely something I want to – 1999 is set in stone. All these guys have retired. Even 2000, Tom Brady is kind of still up in the air this offseason. So when I get to 2000, but that won't change. Tom Brady will probably be the number one pick in that draft. So without further ado, I am going to start and kick off the 1999 NFL redraft. It will be the original order, pre-trades. So the Cleveland Browns will still have this pick regardless, but just as a heads up, the rest of the teams after, it will be as an original finish. Not going to assume trades here. So Cleveland Browns, number one overall pick in the 1999 NFL draft, and I will have them take quarterback Donovan McNabb from Syracuse. The future of an organization certainly starts with ownership, needs good general management, head coaching, and coordinators, but it's hard to build off kick off a new team, an expansion team at the time, without the man behind center. And Donovan McNabb certainly was the best quarterback in this draft class. Tim Couch who was here originally. I think McNabb is the best choice here. He's good enough to get the Browns to probably an 8-8 record within a few years, and eventually maybe even the playoffs. Though that Browns front office was a dumpster fire. Who knows if they'd be able to develop behind him, but Donovan McNabb is certainly a capable quarterback to take him to the next level eventually. Number two is going to be the Philadelphia Eagles. While they also took quarterback here, there's still another quality quarterback on the board, and that is Dante Culpepper from Central Florida. Big arm quarterback. He's a tank, 255 pounds going into the draft. The Eagles were hurting for a QB, and obviously since McNabb is off the board, Culpepper is the new face of the franchise. Since I think at the time Bobby Hoying and Coy Detmer were their quarterbacks, and that just doesn't cut it. Number three, Cincinnati Bengals. I'm going to go with right end edge rusher Javon Curse out of Florida. It's the only position really missing for the Bengals is quarterback. They had Kijana Carter and Corey Dillon at running back. They had Carl Pickens and Darnay Scott at wide receiver, both solid starters at that time, and a really strong O-line. The issue is, from what we know now, Akili Smith is one of the biggest draft busts in history. And the next best quarterback available is Aaron Brooks, who is borderline first-round material. Their defense needed improvements, and namely the D-line. So here I'm going to take the best pass rusher available, and that's Javon Curse. And fourth overall, Indianapolis Colts. I'm going to have them take Torrey Holt, wide receiver from North Carolina State. Man, this pick throw a giant curveball, by the way, for the NFL future. Because they obviously did just fine picking Edgerrin James here. Great NFL running back, got a pretty decent long career. But if they go with Holt, then they get Marvin Harrison and Torrey Holt for the young Peyton Manning to throw to. Peyton Manning, obviously, elite, plenty fine, starting with Marvin Harrison. Eventually, Reggie Wayne came along, I think in 2004. But wow, without him, it's just Marvin Harrison and Jerome Pathon. And Pathon was always just a mediocre number 3, good number 4. So here, I think, add the addition of maintaining Marshall Faulk. We obviously saw how good he turned out to be, especially with the greatest show on turf. So if they end up re-signing him and then also keep these 2 wide receivers and then have Peyton Manning, I think they'll be just fine. Number 5, I'll go with the Washington Redskins. Champ Bailey, cornerback from Georgia, with an estimated 4.38 speed. He defends like a dream. He caught passes for the Bulldogs, returned kicks, and played stout coverage. He's a 3-way player for the price of 1 if the Redskins ever choose to use him that way. The Redskins can certainly use some pass catchers. Looking at it here, it looks like Yeah, they weren't great there at tight end and wide receiver. And they had announced prior to the draft that they parted ways with Trent Green. Terry Allen remains the only strong offensive weapon. Terry Allen at the time was probably a top 5 to 8 running back for sure. Michael Westbrook and Leslie Shepard were just kind of meh at a wide receiver, and they started out 0-7 last year, finished strong at 6-3. I still say because Darryl Green is aging and Chris Dishman retired 2 years later at corner, they get Bailey to learn from basically learn a lot from those two guys. Darryl Green, obviously one of the best, fastest players in NFL history, especially at that position. Number 6, St. Louis Rams. I'm going to go with Edgerrin James here from Miami, Florida. Be that way, Andy. If Marshall Faulk never goes to the Rams because of his eventual success in Indianapolis, then James gets the luxury to be a part of the most mediocre show on turf, because that's going to be minus Torrey Holt and Marshall Faulk. Robert Holcomb and Ampley were the running backs, and they have not gotten it together in St. Louis, so Edgerrin James is an outstanding pick here. Chicago Bears, Al Wilson, linebacker from Tennessee. They have an above-average secondary, a less-than-mediocre D-line, and a poor linebacking crew. Immediate help to anchor the Bears' defense for the next 10 years is an athlete unseen to Bears fans since Mike Singletary, which would thereby mean that Urlacher probably gets drafted by someone else in the next redraft. Urlacher is part of the 2001 draft class. Number 8, Arizona Cardinals. Antoine Winfield, the corner from Ohio State. Lock down that other side. If you take away Aeneas Williams, and the secondary might be one of the worst I've ever seen, the entire 1998 season, they were swapping the number 2 corner with J.B. Brown and J.J. McCleskey. You probably don't know those names, and for good reason. They were mediocre in their best years. Winfield played for a really long time in the NFL. Rare injury concern, and the longevity also allowed a smooth eventual transition to be a Pro Bowl caliber safety as well. His son's now in the NFL, so let's see how far back 25 years is, right? I mean, not quite 25 years, but that's interesting. It makes me feel old. Number 9 was my Detroit Lions. And I'm going to have them draft Damian Woody, the guard/center from Boston College. The Lions ended up getting him as a free agent in 2004, if you remember. But this O-line was not good. And if I have to pull the Madden ratings card, not a single offensive lineman was above a 73 overall, except for Jeff Hartings, who was a 79, which I think Jeff Hartings was a little better than that. I'm tempted to go with Chris McAllister or Dexter Jackson here, but they had Terry Fair and Bryant Westbrook at corner and Ron Rice and Mark Carrier at safety. So I don't feel like that was their strongest need, though obviously still would have been an upgrade. Damian Woody fixing that offensive line, or at least a little bit at a time, gives them at least 2 offensive linemen to kind of work with. And maybe if Barry Sanders knew that Damian Woody was coming to Detroit, sticks around, doesn't, tank out at the start of the 2000 season. So just one more better offensive lineman to run around. Number 10, I'm going to go Dexter Jackson, the safety from Florida State for the Baltimore Ravens. They probably could be just fine with their actual pick, Chris McAllister here. But safety looked more pressing than a corner. In 1998, Rod Woodson and Dwayne Starks are, to me, better than Benny Thompson and Tim Herring at safety. So Dexter Jackson obviously was a Super Bowl MVP. 11, Minnesota Vikings defensive end Mike Rucker from Nebraska. With an aging quarterback, Randall Cunningham at 35 years old. QB of the future is obviously a need. Only with the 2 only good quarterbacks gone, it's time to fill another aging need, and that would be John Randall, the elite defensive tackle. He's 31. He only played for 1 more season with the Vikings. The drafting of Mike Rucker allows him to learn behind a future Hall of Famer for a season before having to fill his shoes full time. I think Mike Rucker could go on manning that spot for the next decade. Number 12, New Orleans Saints, running back Ricky Williams from Texas. You probably remember how this worked out. Coach Mike Ditka was so over the top high on Ricky Williams that he literally traded his entire draft to move up and get the star running back from Texas. I feel even in hindsight, Coach Ditka would still would take Williams. So at least in this instance, he gets his dream running back, and he still gets to keep his draft picks. Maybe the fall in the draft would also help motivate Ricky Williams into proving everyone wrong instead of deciding to retire early to smoke pot and then join the Canadian Football League. And then to his credit, Ricky Williams did come back with Miami Dolphins and was a solid running back for them for at least another 2 to 3 years. Number 13, Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm going to have them take the wide receiver from Elkhorn State, Donald Driver, who you remember with the Green Bay Packers for years. There's still some good linebackers on the board here, which is the Steelers' MO, but with a lack of talent they currently have on that roster, including starting wide receiver Courtney Hawkins, who leaves after the following year, this would be a great pick. Imagine Hines Ward and Donald Driver for the next decade. Driver would have given Cordell Stewart, the quarterback at the time, the weapons he desperately needed, and Driver played for 13 seasons, including helping the Packers beat the Steelers in Super Bowl 45. So maybe with this pick, the Steelers add another trophy to their mantle. Something to consider. Number 14, Kansas City Chiefs. I'm going to have them take the Brigham Young offensive tackle, John Tate. The Chiefs will stick with their original pick here, while they do have a need at offensive outside linebacker, and Joey Porter sounds intriguing. I think the need here is too great with the aging left tackle, Jeff Criswell, who was 34 that season. Number 15, the Tampa Bay Bucks. I'm going to have them take Anthony Booger McFarland from LSU. I think the Bucks got it right there. So if it's not broke, don't fix it. By taking Booger here, you replace the aging Brad Culpepper. You pair him with one of the greatest 3 techniques of all time in Warren Sapp. And then when they add Simeon Rice to the mix in 2001, these guys create havoc, which starts the dominance of this defense that concludes in the Super Bowl championship and possibly even 2 with how good that defense would be and was. Number 16, Tennessee Titans. I'm going to give them cornerback Trey Bly from North Carolina. The Titans sure up a young cornerback tandem in this selection. Bly steps in immediately for the aging corner Darrell Lewis. Bly was a 2-time Pro Bowler and voted All-Pro in 2003. And if he didn't play for the Lions for a couple of years, probably could have been more than that. He helped the Rams beat the Titans in Super Bowl 34. So again, this is another pick that kind of could help change that fate. Number 17, New England Patriots, and that's going to be offensive tackle John Jansen from Michigan. Patriots have a huge need at both tackle spots, with both getting up there in age. Left tackle Bruce Armstrong was 33 that season. And right tackle DeFrost Moss was 32. John Jansen could step in right away and replace either one of them. And Jansen went and played 11 years, eventually switching to right tackle. Oakland Raiders at 18. I'm going to have them take corner Chris McAllister from Arizona. The Raiders have serious concern with age in the secondary. Safety Albert Lewis is 38, which is a super old safety, especially in that time. Anthony Newman, the other safety, was 33, but this pick will replace aging corner Eric Allen. So, yeah, definitely one of the oldest secondaries at the time. McAllister teams up with the Raiders' first-round pick from the year before, which was Charles Woodson, and that gives them one of the youngest, most talented cornerback tandems in the league. Chris McAllister went on to play for 11 seasons, so the Raiders would have had both guys for quite some time. Talk about a no-fly zone in Oakland. Number 19, New York Giants. Let's give them linebacker Mike Peterson from Florida. Peterson went on to play 13 seasons in the NFL and topped out as a second-team All-Pro in 2005. Peterson would have added youth and tons of talent to the Giants' subpar linebacker core. Number 20, Dallas Cowboys, wide receiver David Boston from Ohio State. The Cowboys were just starting to decline due to getting older. At this point, Michael Irvin was 32. Drafting Boston gives Aikman another weapon besides Emmitt Smith, which could have slowed down the eventual downfall of the Dallas Cowboys 90s dynasty. Number 21, Arizona Cardinals, offensive tackle from Eastern Michigan, L.J. Shelton. The Cardinals can stay firm with their pick from 1999. With Lomas Brown at 35 years old, their hands are tied here. They need to draft his replacement. And I think Shelton fits the bill. Serviceable tackle in the league for a very long time. Number 22, Seattle Seahawks. I'm going to go with defensive end Patrick Kearney from the Virginia Cavaliers. They got him in the second half of his career anyway. If you remember, I think he started with the Falcons, and then he went to the Seattle Seahawks. and was a part of their Super Bowl team. But anyway, they obviously wanted a defensive end because they grabbed a less than mediocre Lamar King, probably one of the more noticeable draft busts in the first round in the 1999 draft. So, yeah, Kearney is a huge upgrade from that. Number 23, Buffalo Bills. Another edge. Aaron Smith from Northern Colorado. They were crossing their fingers for Kearney to fall here, but Aaron Smith will do a serviceable job to replace the elderly Bruce Smith. And in this case, they go from Plan B Smith to Plan A Smith. Aaron Smith played 12 years with the same team, and the Bills will love that loyalty in their franchise. Number 24, San Francisco 49ers. I'm going to have them take the Colorado State outside linebacker, Joey Porter, who I had mentioned a little bit before. I've got to go with the best available here, and it does actually help them. Their best linebacker, Ken Norton, is on his way towards retirement, which is also crazy to think he was a Seahawks defensive coordinator this year. Lee Woodall was not a good player either. They probably needed a quarterback after the season because Steve Young played 3 games, went down to an injury, and the 49ers just kind of got lucky on Jeff Garcia. So even so, who do you have here at QB? Cade McNown? Ugh. I don't know. Yeah, Joey Porter's take the best available. Number 25, Green Bay Packers. I'm going to have them take corner Mike McKenzie from Memphis. The Minnesota Vikings made it abundantly clear during the 1998 regular season that they have a lot of weaknesses in their secondary. Craig Newsome and Tyrone Williams really struggled that year, while superstar safeties Leroy Butler and Darren Sharper did all the dirty work back there. Jumping 2 rounds from where they got him in 1999 anyway, this gives them the much-needed help to shut down receivers. They take the full 10 minutes deciding between Jerry Azuma and Mike McKenzie before the commissioner walks up to the podium. Number 26, Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going to have them take Brian Waters from North Texas guard. Jaguars have the best offensive tackle tandem in the league with Tony Boselli and Leon Searcy, but with Jeff Novak retiring, they have no interior lineman talent. So Waters went undrafted, but was a 6-time Pro Bowler and an All-Pro twice. This is big time. That line would be scary good. Number 27, the Detroit Lions. Running back Kevin Falk, LSU. The Swiss Army knife was never spectacular in his NFL career, but he played for 13 years. And at that time, only Emmitt Smith and Marcus Allen had more NFL seasons than he did at the running back position, 14 and 15 respectively. This fits a huge surprise need for the Lions with the surprise retirement of Barry Sanders this offseason, but rumors speculate as when Barry told the team. While he officially announced his retirement the day before training camp, stories say that he came out and told the team that he was considering it right after the season ended. We'll never know. Number 28, New England Patriots. Let's give them Kelly Gregg, the defensive tackle from Oklahoma. While Kelly Gregg struggled quite a bit to start off his career, once he landed on a team that fit his scheme like the Ravens, he was a big part of that defense. With Henry Thomas on his last legs at 33, he could step in as the Pats begin to make their transition to a 3-4 defense. Number 29, Minnesota Vikings. Edwin Mulatalo, guard from Arizona. While guard Randall McDaniel was a Pro Bowl left guard, he was also 34 years old. Drafting Edwin Mulatalo as his replacement would keep the O-line strong. They really need a quarterback of the future, but at this point, Edwin has the higher upside. Number 30, Atlanta Falcons. Let's give them wide receiver Brandon Stokely from the University of Southwestern Louisiana. This team was loaded and just missing out on the Super Bowl. While they have aging quarterbacks, they also have aging wide receivers in Terrence Mathis and Tony Martin, 31 and 33 respectively. Martin left after the season. Stokely is the guy who come in and learn while eventually becoming the team's go-to guy in the slot. This will help Chris Chandler buy some time while they wait for Mike Vick to come to town and give them the best white wide receiver tandem with Tim Dwight. And the last pick, as you know, there were only 31 teams in 1999, and Denver Broncos, who won the Super Bowl that year, they're going to draft quarterback Tim Couch from Kentucky, who, as you remember, was the number 1 pick in this draft. With John Elway winning his 2nd straight Super Bowl and retiring and having a young backup quarterback, Brian Greasy, this would be the perfect spot for the highly touted quarterback. He was an epic fail in Cleveland, but that was also going into an expansion franchise that had little to no talent on it. all the pressure was on him, and I don't think he was ready to handle it. So by him falling to a really talented team where he isn't needed to start right away, the pressure is not going to be on him. With his talent and being able to be groomed into the starting role by Brian Greasy, who was pretty good for a while. They had the quarterback coaches at the time to help work with him. Who knows how good Tim Couch could have really been? Obviously, one of the biggest busts again in NFL history. But Browns were a disgusting franchise, and until the last couple of years have been a disgusting franchise. That would have changed I think the trajectory of the Cleveland Browns. So let's stick with that.